Well, thank you very much for the invitation to this conference. It's really interesting to see and listen and listen to all the good presentations already done today. Guess everybody's getting a little bit tired now, so if you fall asleep, I will try to wake you up. But anyway, my name is Johannes Palsson. I'm actually born and raised in Iceland, have been working in the fishing industry in Iceland, then into Norway, and then into Denmark. So now I live in Skagen, top of Denmark, partly top of the world, we say, mainland Europe at least. Who cares? But anyway, a little bit about our company is that FF Skagen is originally established in 1960, so it's an old company, originally a cooperative, and all about one fish meal factory, and it used to be, no, sorry, that's back. It used to be the pointer, is it there? There. Used to be, here in the city. And now it moved to the harbor back in 74. So the company has been working with mainly fish meal, fish oil production for many years. And then since 2015, we started to into the consumption species as well. So today we have kind of consolidated the pelagic industry in Skagen into one company. So we process meal and oil in this facility here on the harbor, and then we process herring in this facility, and then some facilities around the harbor here as well. And today we process like 420,000 tons raw material for meal and oil every year. And we used to say 100,000 ton herring, but this year it will be less. The quotas are down and the volumes will be maybe 70,000 tons, something like that for the human consumption. This year we bought a new company in Skagen called Werner Larsson, and then we have consolidated the pelagic industry in Skagen into one group. And Werner Larsson used to be owned by a Dutch company, and we used to in Werner Larsson process the Dutch matches herring, and then some sprats. So now we are doing the matches into one company, and we do some spiced sprats in barrels, which we sell then for the canning industry. So that's the latest on our group. So otherwise, I wanted to talk about responsible pelagic fisheries management standard, which is kind of the main theme. But additionally, I took some slides about, the EU control regulation. I guess you're all aware of that. There's some changes coming there. And then some fisheries and marine mammals. So now if you have time, let's see what happens. But to start with, the responsible pelagic fisheries, it's so that we are creating a foundation, which under the Danish law is going to be totally independent. That's also important when we talk about certifications. And the thing is that we started to kind of the work started some 2 years ago in our European organization, the European Fish Meal Fish Oil Producers Organization, and the discussion started because we have had so many issues with the certifications of the shared stocks in the North Atlantic for years. And the last kind of solution was to have what we call fisheries improvement programs, like wherever other places in the world, well, people don't follow the rules even. And in these discussions, we said, okay, we have to find a more sustainable solution for the certification of our fisheries, and we have to kind of develop our own standard if we don't find anything else that fits. We, of course, had the discussions with those two standards, which are kind of on a side of the MSC standard, which is Iceland Responsible Fisheries. This was established back in 2004-05, and they have only focused on the local stocks in Iceland. We talked to the guys and asked them, so could you, open up the scope and take into the pelagic species? After some discussions, they said, no, we keep it simple. We don't like to mess up with everything else. We just continue to stay with the Icelandic fisheries that will say the stocks locally in Iceland and not take into account the stocks which are, shared in North Atlantic. Then we had the discussions with the Alaska standard, which is responsible fishery management standard in Alaska. Now they call it certified Seafood International, CSI. It's not a crime series. It is actually a standard. And we have been discussing with those guys, and they said, well, it's complicated. They want to go global, but at the same time, they feel that to start to discuss with people that operate in fisheries where they don't agree on sharing the stocks, they said, well, that's not the place we like to begin. So then the conclusion in our European organization was, okay, then we have to do something else. Then we have to start working on it ourselves and create a standard. And what we did basically was to talk again to the Icelandic guys and tell them, guys, just that you know, we are going to take your standard and we are going to copy and paste it and we are going to work with it as a basics for our, but in your standard there is a, what you call it, a claim that it's a copyright. And they said to me, that's right, that's fine, do it. So we base the work on the other standards in a way. So that is where we started. And of course, such standards, if they are going to be recognized by others, by people, then of course we have to base it on the FAO Code of Conduct and FAO eco-labeling. And there are, of course, discussions about what does that mean in our case. So what we did is that we said, okay, we have to find a solution where we look at the problems we have in understanding and interpret this FAO Code of Conduct. And in the biggest hurdle to agree is that in FAO Code of Conduct it says that the coastal states should agree upon sharing the stocks. And what is the definition of should? And I have had quite a dispute with people mainly in UK, because they say they are better in English than I am. That's fair. But my understanding of the word should is that, you should do it, but you don't have to do it. And they say you have to. That is what is the meaning of it. And then we said, okay, let's see if we can find a definition of these words. And actually we found it in an ISO standard, ISO 14000, I don't think we have the reference here. Was it here before? Yeah, no, it was not there. In ISO 14000 something, and that is, we refer to that, there is a definition of what it says. Shall indicates a requirement, should indicates a recommendation. And that is what we base our discussions on today. So we say, okay, that's fine. We use this definition as a part of our standard. This is to clarify that, yeah, we fully agree that, of course, the politicians should agree upon sharing the stocks. But what if they don't? And then, of course, the other really important thing is, of course, all this understanding about the limitations under the standards. And what we say is that there has to be, of course, an ICES, which is kind of the machine room we work with in Europe, more or less. ICES is coming with a recommendation of all the stocks that are shared, and also local stocks in many cases. And we have to have an ICES recommendation for the stocks. And if ICES come with a zero recommendation, then of course you cannot get certified fisheries. That is kind of the other really important task. And then there has to be a TSE that will say that the flag state has to decide a TSE which is then followed. Of course, if a flag state said TSE is 1,000 and they fish 1,200, then it will fail. But as long as the flag state says there is a one TSE, you give this share that on the vessels with flying the same flag, then of course they should be able to get it certified. That is kind of the basic principles we work in with the standard. And And what we have been doing is that we have created the draft of the standard. We have had a meeting to establish the foundation. And the structure is going to be that there is a foundation which is the owner of the standard. The foundation is independent. And under Danish law, there is the foundations are kind of what you call it, organized in a way. Of course, it's a company, pays taxes in Denmark, but there is no owner of a foundation. And the foundation should have a goal to deliver, and in our case, it will be owner and develop the standard and have it operating the standard. And then we, if there will be a profit in the organization, then of course first you have to pay tax, but then you can of course have an agreement that you can use the money on developing the standard or do something with that. But our goal is to have an operation which is a non-profit. I will say, we just have to carry the costs every year and keep it running. What we do now is that by end of November, we expect that we will have the final establishment of the foundation. We know who are going to be the founders, and we have in the group that has been working with this idea have a kind of principles we have worked with is that there is no free riders. Every flag state should be a founder, and then when the flag state have become a founder, then we will of course certify the stocks which are pelagic stocks in this flag state. And like we say in the Baltic region, there are 7, if I remember correctly, 8 flag states sharing the Baltic stocks. And of course, these flag states will then share the cost of assessment of the Baltic stocks. And then at the same time in the Atlantic, there are 10 flag states sharing the stocks of blue whiting, mackerel, Atlanto herring, and some flag states sharing the North Sea herring and so on. So the basic will be that we share the cost of the operation, and this is not going to be a profit organization, just to be on a good cost level, and we are going to do it like that. We have a board of the ownership, and then we have a technical committee, and we have to hire a program manager. We expect to hire maybe one person. We might need 1.5 or have some consultant to help us through the establishment, but mainly 1.5 person is kind of what we believe is an operational cost on our side of the foundation. And then we would have some meetings and the technical committee to come up with an ideas of if there should be any adjustments. But the basic idea is to adjust only the needs that comes from changes in like FAO Code of Conduct. This is not going to be something that we have to next year we have to do something more, something different, something add-on issues. No, please. We have enough of a lot of things around in the industry. This is a fisheries assessment to see if we are following the advice, and that's it, kind of. We expect, at the moment, we have kind of been in discussions with all the countries. Those who have already decided and said yes is Iceland and Faroe, Holland, Denmark. Then we are in discussions with Irish and the UK. We expect them to come in. And then we have been in discussions with Estonia and Latvia, and Lithuania have not been in discussions with yet, but we of course are going to take all countries and flag states in the area. Finland, I guess more or less Estonia is controlling Finnish fisheries, isn't it? So that's something like that. But anyway, like the Dutch guys, they have interest in Spain, France, Belgium, Germany, Poland, Estonia. So they are also covering kind of a lot of interests. So what we do is that, of course, we follow up with everybody and try to get everybody on board before we start. Those who are not with in the beginning, they can also add on when we go further down the road. And like we say, we estimate, this is just our best estimate at the moment, is that maybe 400,000 euro a year would be the annual cost of the operation, plus then the assessments. And what we do is that we are asking for the CBs, the certification bodies, which are doing the assessment of each stock. We are asking for a price of an annual, or what you call it. It's an assessment. Is always, it has been according to our standard, will be for a 5-year period. Then you make a full assessment, and every 5 years you make a full assessment, and then every year you check if the conditions are okay. So we are asking for a price for this 5-year period from the certification bodies. So we have already contacted 2 certification bodies, and there is a third available, I think, in the market. One is an old called Global Trust. One is MRAC from US, and the third is the Norske Veritas, I think. So we will, just have to have the full picture of what is the cost before we start to send out the invoices for the annual fees. But the idea is that, or we have decided, the working group decided that the flag state access will be 40,000 euro. That one-time payment, and then we have established the foundation, and then annually it will be like these 400,000. And I think the best guess we have still now is that it's maybe the total cost for all the assessments on an average will be around 600,000-700,000 euro, and then that goes for all the species we have in the North Atlantic. So that will be then shared by everybody. That is the picture on this part. So we should take some quick questions on the certification, or shall we do that afterwards? Because then I can continue. Okay. Then I wanted to talk a little bit about the control regulation. It's clear that the control regulation, they started this work on the revision, I think it was 3-4 years ago, something like that. 18, yes, in 18. And now we have, most likely it will be functioning from 26. And when that work started, we in Denmark, we had a lot of issues with the bycatch, because the bycatch of the pelagic fisheries is so, was so uncertain, and there was a lot of dispute about bycatch. And we said, okay, it's better that we get into the work and work together with the authorities to create the solutions that can work, than sitting and waiting and then fighting. And the industry decided to do in cooperation with the authorities to develop a kind of a solution for the bycatch and bycatch control. And also, this is the big focus is that the biggest problem for the fishermen was the margin of tolerance. And as the legislation is, then the fishermen have to report every species as a bycatch, and then they have to set the kilos, how many kilos are there in the catch, and a catch of like 1,000 tons. You have to get right about plus minus 10% of each species on the bycatch. And Denmark were actually in a bad standing in EU since 2010 because of the method Denmark developed on defining and report the bycatch. And when that came up to the discussions, then Denmark had to find a solution, and we actually developed this with the authorities. And what it did is to do it transparent, and at the same time, I remember the fishermen first said, no, this is not good. You should not do it like this. But when we came to this good solution, and then the fishermen said, yeah, this is the best fantastic solution, was that we managed to convince the authorities that the margin of tolerance should, if we follow our way to do it in Denmark, then we should do the margin of tolerance for the full catch. So the margin of tolerance is plus minus 10% of the catch of 1,000, that would say 100 tons accuracy, instead of if you had like 100 kilo of cod in a catch of 1,000 tons of herring, then you could have 110 or 90 kilo. And then you get points and all these problems, which are really a problem. The Danish authorities got this approved by EU, and we have been following it since. What we did is that we put a camera surveillance on the discharge equipment. So like here, this is from our cameras actually, where you can see where we take the sample. You can also see the vessel. You can see the hoses, the connection to the vessel, and everything in the harbor on each location. And we have done this in the locations we have in Denmark, and then we have some locations in Sweden, and we have been following the Swedish and say, okay, when you're ready with your way to do it, then please tell us, and we are going to install what we need. We expect it will be the same. I know recently there has been big discussions about the samples, the size of the samples for the landings, and we have said, please make it confirm so that a fishing vessel flying a Estonian flag, land in Estonia, that the same rules for the sampling will be if they land in Sweden or even come to Skagen, Denmark. So please do the same rules in EU at least, and we should also claim and ask EU to follow this up with both Norway, Iceland, UK, so that we apply to the same rules. And I was in meeting in Copenhagen last week, and actually I found out that they have already decided to make a new committee to come up with a solution of the sampling at least. So there is people now working on harmonizing the sampling rules. Sweden had one solution. Denmark actually established one. Sweden added one on, and then people found out, oh, okay, now they understand the industry. So luckily, I think hopefully we will get through that sometime during 26. And I guess, if I remember well, I think the Baltic should be applying in 28 because of some exemptions we have in that one. So, but anyway, if you are interested to see how we have done it, you're always welcome to Skagen. This was the contour regulation. And then a little bit about the fisheries. Do I still have? I have 7 minutes. It's always interesting to look at numbers. And what we see now is that, like you see here, is that, we have been about 2 million tons catching in herring in our area, Baltic region, North Sea, and in Atlantic. Where are we now? We are about 1 million. This is what's happening now. And we see the same in the industry fisheries. We've been in 4.5 million in 90s. Bad years here in 2010-11, and we are at that level now, expecting maybe, I think it's pessimistic, but maybe somewhat 1.5 million for the meal and oil in the coming year, 26. The quotas are up and down, but I think also we have an issue with the competition in the ocean. There is a little bit of competition in the ocean. We are not always talking much about, but that's why I engaged myself in a project with the Icelandic guys about marine mammals. What is the level and what is the status of marine mammals, and what is the competition? The fast conclusion is that we are 3 predators who not prey very much on each other. That will say we, as humans, the seal and the whale. At the moment, there are other winners than we are. You can see there are quite a number of seals. We actually established this project back in I think it's 4 years ago. We started to work on an idea to understand, get the science to understand and tell us, the industry, what is the level of marine mammal, what is the level of the competition in the ocean. And of course it takes time to get scientists work on it, but we managed to get them starting. And the thing is that it seems to be that we have 14.5 million seals in the northern hemisphere. And there are of course some species, ice seals, who are strong, and some other species are vulnerable. So that's, it's not always that it's everybody has it a good. in a good shape, but there is something somewhere 2 million tons of biomass in the seal population. The consumption from the seal population seems to be about 36 million tons a year. And the seals are in these areas. This is kind of what we looked into. Baltic region as well. So this is kind of of course, a desk studies, but scientists, they did the work. Like I say, 4.5 million individual, 2 million tons biomass, and then consume 36 million tons annually. Then this you know all about. This is kind of so there are some references there. You can look into the documentation. And then we had the discussion again. I said, okay, so what about the whales? How does that look like at the moment? And well, this is a rough desk study. Luckily, the scientists in Northern, those who were participating in this first project, and some additionally, they are willing to do a more thorough study of it. But the preliminary number is that there are some 4 million individuals. The biomass are 11 million tons, and the consumption is 166 million tons. So these two predators, who we do not prey on, they consume 200 million tons. No, I deleted some of the slides. I knew it would be enough. So they consume 200 million tons, and in North Atlantic we are catching 10 million tons. The fisheries are catching 10 million tons. So the competition is that out of the 210 million tons we consume of the biomass, it's not the fish by fish, the biomass consumption. 210 million, 5% are the fishermen, the 95% are the marine mammals. So there is an opportunity there, definitely. Of course, people don't like to talk much about it. But the thing is that we need to address this. We need to have science and scientists to look into this, to document what's happening there and how it can be utilized. And I have been asking some politicians, why not put an MSY on a seal? Start to harvest, but we have to do it properly. Of course, if we start, or I would rather say when we start, this is a great source of proteins. There are a lot of minerals. There are a lot of good things in this biomass as well. So if we start to work with this, I'm pretty sure we can feed the world more properly with the good proteins and sound, low carbon footprint material. That's kind of I think I'm sorry.
Okay, do we have questions from the audience first? So the last part was really interesting. I wasn't expecting this.
I thought so. I had to come with something else than just the
Me as an environmental journalist.
Yeah.
I don't know
you have some food.
How to feel about this. So is it true that you want to get back to whaling?
Well, I'm pretty sure that I will be done in the industry before I'm allowed to do it. But what I'm thinking is that we need to address this, because we can see the historical. You can see the consumption of the biomass we are catching on. It's getting less and less, and of course there are a lot of other things in that as well, like what you call it, the annual recruitment from every stock. That varies a lot, but the consumption is there as well. So I think it will happen one day, but we need to have science. We need to address this much more than just desk studies.
Because the population grows and we need more food.
Yeah.
Okay, there are some questions from workshop. Is the member who was in the first this certification?
Yeah.
That country gets certification or not?
Yeah, it is. What we are thinking of is that each country, each flag state will kind of
automatically.
Not automatically. Each flag state has to be a founding member of the foundation. And then when flag state is a founding member, then of course the fisheries in that flag state will be certified if they then ask for it as well. So that's kind of the idea, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Another question, how big were the needs of investments in ports when they want to watch the weighing?
The investment in the weighing, I think the camera setup, as we have been done several times, the camera setup in each harbor is something like 150,000-200,000 Danish. I have to divide it by 7.45, then you have the euro. 200,000 Danish-ish for each harbor. Plus, of course, the landing equipment itself. That's not a part of just the camera, that is the investment.
Yeah. Do we have any more questions? Or yep, here. And microphone, please, as well.
Thank you for the very good presentation. I'm not the one actually to put this question, but there's nobody else is asking.
That's good.
Regarding this responsible pelagic fisheries certification, does it cover only the meal and oil, or will it be also usable for the human consumption fish?
The idea is that we take each stock to get that certified, an assessment and certification of each stock, and then what we utilize it for, human consumption or meal and oil, that's the same. You know, that's it will go for both.
Okay, so it will be more or less similar to the MSC or Marine Trust, and it can be also put to the final consumer products as well.
Exactly, and the idea is also regarding that is that, you know, of course, most of these certifications, they like to have some logos, and that the idea is that if people like to utilize the logo, then of course that will be possible, because the fisheries is the part that is certified first, and then we as a factory, we have to have a chain of custody, and we create a chain of custody. Either what we're working on, I forgot to tell you that. So what we're working on is that the chain of custody would be kind of in a cooperation with the Icelandic and the Alaska one. If they agree, then we don't need to have our own chain of custody. Then that would be in cooperation with those guys. And then when you have the chain of custody, then you are allowed to use the logo to your products.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another question?
Yeah.
Is copying actually MSC the full?
More or less, yeah. Yeah, more or less. It's
5 years, every year audit.
Yeah.
It's actually the same.
Yeah. Keep it simple. But we are just going to do that. We don't have to improve with some social standards or whatever. That's totally another story. Somebody has to do that separately.
Another question?
Yeah, I have a really specific questions I will ask later about the flag state entry level, how to share the cost later on and all that. But I have a question also that usually it's the previous schemes have been quite client or based, that motivated, let's say. Do you also have a perspective that all the clients who need or want also the stocks to be certified and chain of custody, do they approve that? Do they recognize it, both in the meal industry and especially in human consumption industry as well? Thank you.
That is a really good question. You know, it is so that, of course, this is the most common asked question in my discussions. And the thing is that we have had, I have had, at least myself, quite a lot of discussions with the feed producers in mainly Norway, UK, and then also our clients in the herring business in Germany and Poland. In Poland, there's absolutely no interest. In Germany, there's quite an interest. And in the German market, there is these discussions about now, for instance, the Atlanto herring. The Atlanto herring will fail on the last FIP, because that has been 2 times FIP, fail in April next year. and then they ask, what can we do? And we have explained this will be a solution. And then they have asked me to come and present the idea, but they don't say no. We need to have a solution, they say. So of course we will follow up with all these supermarkets who ask for a discussion. We will do that definitely. And regarding the meal and oil, it is so that a part of the process now will be to ask for a so-called GSSI recognition. It is a framework that recognize a standard, which if we get, they say you have to be controlled by a controller, which is controlled by another controller in a way. So this GSSI recognition is a next step. The Icelandic standard has got the GSSI recognition, which is kind of the basics we are working from, and the Alaska one has this GSSI recognition. I have asked the feed producers, so what is your demand? They say if you have a GSSI recognition, it will be ASC approved. That is the answer I have got from them. So we go for that as well. As soon as we establish the standard, we will go for this GSSI recognition. It takes time. One of the feed producer, who is also a salmon producer, said to me, as soon as you just have the standard, you got the assessment of the blue whiting, we are good to go. So we are going to do it, we are going to use it. And it's always like this in some other things in the market. When one is doing it, then other will ask, why should we not? So I think, we are, of course, we will tell the story, explain what's about, and hope for the best. We don't know yet.
One last question from workshop. In a situation where quotas are constantly decreasing, how easy is to find money for investments aimed at improving monitoring and transparency?
Well, I think it's a license to operate. We will just have to do it. For me, it's that, like we see it, of course, we were kind of the front runners in Denmark, but this is necessary to get license to operate in a way. It's going to be a legislation. It's going to be the way to either you like to have this margin of tolerance for the full load, then you have to invest in this CCTV and the independent third party, or the government themselves like to stay on the quayside and do the surveillance of the landing, or you will have to follow the other more stricted rules.
Okay, thank you, Johannes. And here's a fish chocolate, but let's do an applause for